Welcome to an epic tale but like no other. I have 100 days to capture my fellow Ark YouTuber AxeMan alive and place him in a cage to take a vial of his blood before the 100 days are over, or he'll escape from the island without a trace. Now, we've set a few rules up in place just so the hunt can be a bit fair. So for the first 10 days, I'm actually not allowed to hunt him down, or capture him, or do any of that stuff, but I can screw with him if I want to make him shit his bricks. Secondly, if I die before day 91, I must leave the server for 2 Ark days, giving AxeMan free time, which I don't want to do. And I'm only allowed to use the net projectiles after day 90, as they are quite strong, and so we made the last 10 days, if it gets to that point, very intense. I also got to give a shout out to Fizzle Labs, as this kind of whole idea of this hunting down manhunt video came from watching one of his videos where he hunted down another Minecraft YouTuber. And I was like, I want to do this with Ark, and now we are. Now that you know what is at stake, let's break 3,000 likes and we'll run it back. But this time, AxeMan will be hunting me down instead. Now, let's get into the tale of hunting down AxeMan. Well, I start my hunt on the beach right next to AxeMan, where he quickly punches me in the head. I hear him shit. Before disappearing into the forest. But I had no plan of following him on this part, but instead wanted to start building up and making my way to the north once I'm ready. So we start by making the basic stone pickaxe, hatchet, some spares before taking down a parasaur, and then being attacked by some compies, which we slayed easily. I made a campfire, which I put on and started to cook damn compy meat. I geared up with some basic cloth clothes before murking this trilobite for some easy kiting. Then I made a thatch foundation to house a mortar and pestle, as I needed to make some spark powder before I murked some dodos for their hide and meat. I also spotted a spiner down the river, which means I'm definitely not heading that way because death means free time for AxeMan and he ain't getting any of that. So I made some narcotics with the small amount of resources I had to get some XP before I made a canoe. Then I quickly made myself a club and then a bow and some arrows before ending off the day by making some bowlers that I could use on AxeMan, but are most likely there to help me tame stuff or defend myself from the local wildlife. So on day 2, I loaded up my canoe with all my supplies so we could set out on the ocean around the island. But before we do, I need to make myself some arrows. And then I saw a tech parasaur, which had to be marked because that free scrap metal and electronics is gonna come in handy when hunting down this AxeMan. Then it was time to embark on our journey to the southeast end of the island, as I have plans to set up a little base on Herbivore Island. But then, on my rowing journey, I spotted a little thatched shack, and this shack was made by the one and only goddamn AxeMan. Now, I couldn't catch him yet, but I decided to park up the canoe and just observe from behind this rock. I could see him riding his bloody moss job all free, and I couldn't wait to catch him. But after a little bit, he got a bit too close for comfort, so I had to dip, hoping he didn't see me, but he did. Come on, Mr. AxeMan, I found your base already. And then there were arrows being shot everywhere from both me and AxeMan. I was just trying to stay alive, so I ended up hiding on this rock until he ran away. And then I wanted to continue my journey on the canoe, but it was goddamn freaking stuck. So I had to pick it up and place it back down, and then I could actually leave the area. And I will come back at a later date to kinda check out the area. I really didn't want to give away that I knew this, but oh well. After seeing him actually on his moss shop, I was like, I do need one for that fiber. So I checked a few along my journey, but they all wanted stuff I didn't have, so that was a goddamn bummer. Then I finally made it across the Herbivore Island, where I collected this explorer node to get that XP buff, and then made some bowlers before failing to try and tame this parasaur. God damn it. The following day I started to build a little shack, you know, a starting point for an epic base. Also made a campfire, a mortar and pestle before finishing the shack off on this island. Then I made a forge, which I got metal and scrap metal smelting with, which is gonna come in handy. Then I made some trank arrows right before I knocked out my first parasaur. Then murked this pig for some sweet ass hide, made a saddle for my new parasaur with that hide, of course, before making a smithy and making myself some metal tools, and a crossbow, and also a pike. A new parasaur was tamed. I called it Pinky, cause it's goddamn pink, alright? Pink parasaur is always called Pinky. Then we went on a berry harvest for them goddamn narco berries, as I'm gonna need a lot of narcotics and tranks for trying to capture AxeMan alive. Remember, I can't kill him. Well, I could kill him, but he gets to respawn. but my goal was to capture him alive. I made myself a sleeping bag just in case I need to respawn or even quickly get away if I'm attacked when I'm not ready. I also made myself a preserving bin to store some meat in for later, before I went on a goddamn metal run to end off my day. So the next day I was really about just building up the base on Herbivore Island. By building a large storage box, taking down a tech parasol, getting more berries, then trying to tame a trike, which I did spot this level 72 one, which we'll have to do. And I tried seeing if getting up on this rock with this little makeshift thatch ramp would give me a good location to trank out this trike. But he ran straight up that rock, giving me a goddamn heart attack, and I had to run for all my goddamn life. But I led him into this area where he got stuck between a rock and another rock. And it's really talking about being stuck between two hard places. So I tranked him out and fed him some berries so we can become best of friends. Then I made myself some gunpowder as I'm going to need to make some bullets to make trank darts which I can put AxeMan to sleep with. I will make sure he gets a good night's rest for sure. Then I made a raft which will become a base in its own right and be one of the many ways I can capture AxeMan. I also made a sickle, but you know, raft is more important. So, on day 5, more work on the raft base continued, and then a blue drop landed on Herbivore Island. So I had to collect it. For my first drop of this hunt, it was dookie. I don't even know why I'm collecting this. It's straight caca. My trike finally tamed, and I called him Trent. I made him a saddle before going on a mega berry harvest. Then I made myself a simple pistol for that protection before going on a metal run with Pinky. Now it's about time to go check out the local PT population on this island, where I spotted level 42. So I knocked him out with just one trank arrow, and then decided to keep looking, which I spotted level 6, and god damn it, what the hell is with these goddamn levels? I guess I'm just gonna have to stick with level 42 here. That's alright, it is just the starter PT, we can get a better one later. So the next day I continued my work on the raft base, made a saddle for the PTA that I was taming, which he finally tamed and I called him Scout as he will be my scouting tame. We went on a fly with Scout to get some crystal as I needed to make myself a spyglass, which we did after harvesting some from this mountain. Then I went out and scouted out AxeMan's little shack. He had the sign saying knock first. Huh? Like I'm going to knock first if I'm attacking you, bro. I'm gonna blow this shit to pieces. Then I collected Explorer Note while on Scout before returning back to Herbivore Island and got to harvesting for the rest of the day. On day 7 we finally finished off the raft base and for some reason my canoe has just despawned, which was odd. But we got this raft now, so it doesn't really matter. I tried adding stuff to the raft and came to realize that I had built too much and I hit the bloody limit of what I can put on top of this raft. So, guess we're just gonna have to redesign this raft? On the following day, we had the redesign of the raft done and started to add stuff like a smithy, campfire, storage boxes, and more. Then I made myself a long neck rifle and then some simple rifle bullets before collecting even more metal with goddamn Pinky. There was a purple drop which I had to collect, but it didn't give me anything good. Then I got all my dinos on the raft, put Pinky on turret mode before we headed out to find a brand new base spot. And at the end of the day, we parked up by Lava Cave for the night. I decided to build a little shack hidden by Lava Cave the next day, just in case AxeMan wants to build in a cave here. While doing this, I decided to kill the local population of dodos. We love milking dodos here. I made sure to put a simple bed inside the shack, then it was time to travel the open seas once again. But I was on high alert when we were passing the swamp, but not because maybe AxeMan might be around here and I could spot him, but because there are some goddamn dangerous dinos here that could easily attack my dinos, but we made it past safely, so no worries there. And as we continued on to our destination, which by the end of the day we made it, just outside the hidden lake, which will be one of the main areas where I'll be building, and one option to trap AxeMan at. So it's day 10 and we can now finally start to hunt down AxeMan. But I am no way goddamn ready to hunt this man down yet. I will get him. So I decided to make some spark powder and then turn that into gunpowder at the raft base before scouting out the hidden lake area where I collected this blue drop and an explorer note, and then I marched into the area with Trent, taking out some dilos and compies on our way into what will become headquarters for Operation Capture AxeMan. Well, back at the raft I gave it a quick upgrade with this ladder, and then we made a small crafting area and a shack to start off the headquarters. So, on the following day I got to harvesting resources so I can start making them behemoth gates for the 3 entrances into the hidden lake. I then knocked out another parasol as I'm going to be needing a perfect alarm system for the headquarters. I milked a bunch of Hesperonuses at the lake for their organic polymer so I can make myself a full set of ghillie armor as I need to be hidden when hunting down the AxeMan. The parasol finally tamed and I called it Funky, because it just looks funky. Made him a saddle, and after a bunch of harvesting grinding, I was able to place down the first of 3 behemoth gates. The next day was a scouting day, so we headed out on scout collecting some explorer notes, picked up a purple drop with a grenade, which I'm going to need to make some more of these. Then I collected a blue drop, which just a waste of time, I don't know why I'm doing this. Then I landed on a rock right next to AxeMan's shack, where I could see that he had a raptor, and a raft, and a dolphin nearby, which means he could still be hanging around here. So I decided to check out the cave that's kind of just in the forest behind the shack, and to my amazement, I found that he had some raptors in this cave. And then I nearly shat myself because Scout just flew straight in. And because I had her on follow me, and hoping AxeMan wasn't in the cave, I quickly dipped back to the rock, and then I shot his raptor and killed it, and then I shot his dolphin to scare it before throwing that nade I just got at his shack, but it didn't blow it up. Well, I kind of think that's enough damage for now, and it's time to head back to base. Before we get back there, I quickly snagged this yellow drop at the end of the day. At the start of day 13, I collected a blue drop, then a purple drop, before I spotted some microraptors, which I knew I was going nowhere near, so let's get out of here. Then I went to the raft, where there was a blue drop and a tech parasol that I marked before I started to move stuff from the raft to headquarters, as I needed to get this here. I made a preserving bin to end off the day. The next day I spotted a Saku in the hidden lake, which is kind of annoying, but I went on a berry run with Trent as I had no time to deal with the Saku. But he ended up dying anyways, so that's a win-win for me. I need to get myself a tame that can collect hide very well, and also be able to use to defend the area. And that got me thinking. Time to get some sabers. And we went out, and I found some sabers nearby. And the highest level I tried to trank it out, but I ended up killing it. So back to headquarters, where I made some trank darts, because these won't kill the bloody sabers like the trank arrows. Then we were back out checking for more sabers, but all their levels were straight dookie. So I'm going to have a change of plans before we get some sabers. So I ended up making myself some more bullets and then collected this purple drop to end off my day. So on the following day I got myself a better long neck from this yellow drop, and then I made myself an Archie trap before heading out to the mountains. To hunt for a good Archie, of course. I checked a few levels and there were some level 6s which are dookie, and then I spotted level 156 and then a 174. Which is kinda nice, but I knew I didn't want to wait ages for them to tame, so I went with this level 90 instead, which I got into the trap with ease, and then killed his buddy before knocking it out. Then I went to get some priming from taking down some RGs, but I only got 1 bit from one, so this is going to be a bit of a struggle. I did give the RG I'm taming the prime meat, and it made it go up 60%, so back out we go for prime meat. I also collected this yellow drop to end off the day. So the hunt for prime meat continues into the next day. But it got too cold and I was starting to freeze to death, so we went back to headquarters to warm up for a bit. I then made myself a saddle for the Archie that I was taming, then collected this red drop on Carno Island, which gave me an apprentice pump shotgun, which is perfect. Then I spotted the AxeMan on a raptor collecting this green drop, and he had no clue I was watching him. So I decided to tackle his scout, giving him the biggest scare of his life.
Well, hello there, AxeMan. I found you. Where you think you're running to, boy? You think you could hide from me? I'm coming.
And yes, he did get away, but man, do I know he's going to be on edge for a bit. I went back to check on my Archie, but I was getting goddamn attacked by scorpions, which I had to quickly murk. Sadly, the damage had been done, and its taming effectiveness was in the shitter. But I'm still gonna tame it because I cannot be bothered trying to find another one and doing this bloody trapping shit all over again. And once she did, I caught her flume, and we headed back to headquarters to end off the day. So on the following day, I made myself a simple stone drop trap, which I'm going to use to hopefully tame a Saber or two. With that in mind, we headed out to check some Saber levels. But then I spotted a level 18 Doduk, and I had to quickly snag that up and drop it in the trap because Doduk gave me bloody stone. I knocked its ass out, gave it some berries, then I robbed this beaver dam of everything, including the wood. Made myself more spark powder, then did some more harvesting to finish off the day. On day 18, the Doduk finally tamed up and I got it straight to work, harvesting a bunch of stone. I also made it a saddle so I can maximize my stone harvesting. And after all that work, I was able to make and place the second behemoth gate. Only one more to go. So after that, we went back out to check Saber levels, and then I spotted a level 114 female, so I quickly snagged her up and dropped her in the trap. Knocked its ass out, cold, like I will AxeMan when I find him. And then I collected this purple drop before going on a prime meat hunt, which had me murking this Carno, which gave me some, and then I gave that to the Saber before murking this Diplo in the Hidden Lake for its prime, which I didn't get that much as I wanted. I also made my first wooden cage today. The next day I went out for more prime meat and murked a couple of hyenodons, which ended up giving me 2 pieces of it, which I did give to the Saber I'm taming. Then she finally tamed, and I made some shotgun bullets for my pump shotty, and headed back out on the hunt for a high level male Saber, which I was having no luck at all finding one. And then I spotted a level 126 female, which was like a shot in the foot, but I spotted this level 84 male, and I just had to snag it up and tame it so I could start breeding Sabers once he is our friend. But when trying to get this boy in the trap, it ended up being a big mess with me missing the trap and him getting away. But in the end, I got him in, knocked him out, made him eat some prime meat, and then I went and collected this yellow drop to end off the day. On day 20, I went out and got more prime meat before collecting some metal, as I needed some to make myself a feeding trough back at headquarters, which I ended up filling out with a bunch of food to make sure my tames are well fed, because I'm a good hunter. I collected this red drop and then our male Saber tamed. I called him Diego and got him mating with the female Saber straight away. I got the final behemoth gate placed down, but it had some gaps, so I filled them up with some stone walls and stuff, making sure there was no way past that gate. Then I started working on the complex building of the headquarters. This will be where everything will be created to catch AxeMan. And then we finally got our first baby Saber, which I called Hello AxeMan. I continued working on the complex building the following day, made some more grenades, and then collected another red drop on Carno Island. Then my baby Saber needed its first imprint, and it wanted cooked prime fish meat, so out we went to find some saber-tooth salmons. And after killing a few of them, I finally got a piece of prime fish meat, and we beelined it back to headquarters to cook it up, and I fed it to our baby Saber, which gave it like 83%, so only one more imprint. I also collected this purple drop before making a Saber saddle for Diego, before doing even more work on our complex building. The next day I got the second imprint on our baby Saber, so that's a full imprint on our boy. And then even more work on our complex building for the headquarters continued. Once Hello AxeMan was raised up, I gave him a saddle and then went on a kill run with him and collected an explorer note to get that sweet XP. On day 23 it's time to go raid AxeMan, so we got Hello Axe onto the raft and also got Scout onto it as well, before we headed out on a journey down to where AxeMan's shack and cave of raptors are. But then the sucker got up on the raft and attacked us, but luckily Hello AxeMan was able to kill him. Also collected this red drop, which wasn't too great. Then once we reached the area, I quickly scouted around to see if I could spot AxeMan nearby, but there was no sign of him. And we will launch our attack tomorrow. Our first attack on AxeMan starts today, with us heading to his cave, but before we get there, we have to fight this bloody Sarko, man. He just wanted to bite my booty cheeks. Then we attack his raptors, and I didn't realize how many there was, and we got into a very dicey situation, but we came out victorious and made sure he couldn't use any of these raptors again, because he had one that was on passive, luckily. Because if that wasn't, I would have been dead. I headed further into the cave where 2 Megalania dropped from the roof of the cave, and that scared the living crap out of me, so I was out there so goddamn fast you couldn't even say AxeMan. Then I blew up his shack and killed his dodo, and he wasn't happy about the dodo death, as you can see by the chat. And after all of that, it was time to take the raft back to base, but on our journey back, we were attacked by a Sarko and it got a bit messy. But in the end, we killed the Sarko and continued our journey back to headquarters. on the following day, and then we got attacked by some seagulls and it caused a bit of a panic. So I decided to ditch the raft and head back to base on Hello AxeMan with Scout on follow. When we made it to the front gate, I was attacked by some bugs trying to get into headquarters. We murked them swiftly, of course. But I realized AxeMan got his revenge for his dodo as Pinky was killed, which it didn't pop up on my thing. I don't remember it popping up. So it's time to take more parasols, which we got Echo and Alert to put on the walls of the cliff. On the next day, I got one more parasol called Bell set up so we could have more coverage of the area. Then I collected another purple drop before getting another baby Saber. And then I tamed this beaver, which I called Woodchuck. And we went on a massive wood run. I also called my new baby Saber Run, because AxeMan needs to run. Then I went on a crystal and metal run before I spotted the Zanky, which I had to grab and knock out in my trap. The next day I did even more work on the complex building, before getting the final imprint on run. I also made myself a fabricator and then more forges as well. I started the next day with a yellow drop and then another explorer node before our Anki finally tamed. Then I collected 2 purple drops, which both were pretty meh. This ain't gonna help me capture AxeMan, god damn it. Then I named the Anki Slam and took him out on a metal run before making a second feeding trough to have right next to the complex building, and ended off the day by making Slam a saddle. The next day we got this nice sword from this yellow drop, and then got our 3rd baby Saber. I did more work on the complex building, but then my new Saber wants some prime fish meat for an imprint, so we're gonna have to head out and get some fish again. Then I spotted something, an otter, and I had to try and tame it, but there was barely any fish around it. But I did find one and dragged it to the otter, but it needed one more to be tamed. So I was still struggling to find fish for the otter on day 30, but I did find some. And then there's a Carno attack Flume, and I just let Flume deal with it as I dragged this fish that I got to the otter, which I tamed and I caught Fizzle. And with spending all this time on the otter, I gave up on getting prime fish meat. I ain't getting no imprints on that Saber. But now it's time to plan a hunting mission by making some bullets and tranks, then collecting Explorer Note with Run, before we checked out the central cave. But there was no sign of AxeMan in here. The stealthy hunt continued into the next day by going into the woods and searching all over for AxeMan. We even checked out the lava cave, but there was no sign of him in here. So then I spotted this red drop and I decided to lurk around to maybe see if AxeMan would go for it. But yet again, it was nowhere to be seen. I also checked out Green Orb, but yet again, no sign of the AxeMan. He's being very elusive, and I don't like it. And on the next day, we had this fight with this Alpha Raptor, which we marked, and then I had my signature Rex Bone helmet on, which is gonna come in handy. Well, not really, it's just, I just like have my Rex Bone helmet, okay, leave me alone. I also murked a couple of stinking Microraptors as they attacked me, and then we returned back to headquarters after a non-successful hunt. Maybe the Alpha Raptor was successful a bit, but oh well. But now, it's time for a patrol mission with I Spy the Parasaur. So we pick up with Flume and we headed out. First, to check out Carno Island, because there was a red job, but there was still no sign of Axe here anyway. Then, the patrol continued over the swamp with no sign of Axe, and we continued into the night. So our patrol mission continued into the next day with no sign of AxeMan. And then, on the west side of the island, we got a ping. But it wasn't AxeMan, but it was his lost Dimorphodon, and I decided not to kill it, so he didn't know where I was. So with the spot, I put it down on the map with a pin, so we always knew where the Dimorphodon was. And we continued our patrol while heading back to headquarters. Then we got a GPS from this yellow drop, which would have came in handy when putting down the pin for the Dimorphodon. The next day was more work on the complex building until we finished it. It was looking quite nice, but it does need some defensives. Then we got full imprints on our 2 new Sabers before making some wooden spikes to add some extra defense around the hidden lake. So, on day 35 I wanted to collect this purple drop, but there was a Troodon camping it, so I didn't even bother with that. So today I decided I wanted to tame some Iguanodons, so I got myself 2 of them, knocked them both out, and got them taming. And then, once they were both tamed up, you know what I got them to doing? I got them doing the shebang bang, you know, the straight mating, the straight, you know? We got our first fertilized egg from the Iguanodons on the next day, so I made this brand new raft before taking my Saber pack there, but I had to take down this theory first, before I got them all on the raft. And then we were attacked by a Sako as well, on our way there, but I did see this moss shop nearby, and I checked out if she could be tamed, which she could. So I tamed her and called her Jerrietta, and we got her on the raft too. And then I lagged my way across the water over to Carno Island. Then we took the Saber pack onto the island and headed to its cave, which was very cold. And once we got in there wasn't any good drops I could spot from the top, and I was freezing, so I decided to leave this boy. So we just got everyone back on the raft and headed back to headquarters. And we made it back to headquarters on the following day, and we got everyone back in safely of the hidden lake. Then I got Shira and Diego on aggressive and had them wandering around the hidden lake to make sure nothing will be attacking the headquarters. I also started to make some dino gateways for Carno Island, as I'm gonna build a lab there. And then I collect this yellow drop with some flak gear, which is quite nice and will come in handy when I'm fighting AxeMan and trying to capture him alive. So day 38 was just a full-on resource day, so we will skip to the next day. The next day we made even more gates for the Carno Island lab, which I did place one down at the complex just to give the look I was still doing progress on this base, and not to hint that I was building elsewhere, just because I know AxeMan will probably be peeking at this base. I then got the gates placed at the Carno Island spot, and also used one to block up the cave, which got me thinking about blocking up other caves to try and trap AxeMan in. Then I went on a hunt for pelt by taking down some wolves. I also made some scissors to give myself a haircut, because I can use my hair to make fur gear as well, which we started making it. On day 40 we made even more gates for the lab. I also collected this red drop as well to end off the day. On the following day I spotted this Carno trying to have a munch at bells. So I knocked him out before I went out with the Saber pack, where we took down a Spino then a Rex before getting into a fight with some Brontos, where we had our first Saber loss, which is fair being that the Bronto was a max level one. I then gave all the prime meat I got to the Carno, and once he was tamed I made him a saddle and I called him Chompstick. Yes, I called him Chompstick. Don't ask why. I got these Journeyman ghillie boots from this purple drop on the next day. Then I made a C4 remote and my first bit of C4, which is going to come in handy to blow up AxeMan's base to get in there. Then our hunt for pelt continued, and we actually got enough to finish off making a full set of fur gear, which means we can enter the snow for goodies, hunting down AxeMan and all that other stuff. I also made more stuff to take to the lab at Carno Island, and on the following day I added all that new stuff to the lab. And we're getting so much closer to finishing off the fence line around where the lab will actually be built. I also got this nice compound bow blueprint from this red drop, and then I spotted a Giga on this mountain, which kinda got me thinking, should I tame it? I was like, no, maybe not. Then I collected some obsidian before getting the Sabertooth saddle BP from this yellow drop, which is actually quite nice. I also robbed some beaver dams, but neither of them had cementing paste. That means AxeMan has been robbing them without taking out the wood, the little shit. Ugh. The next day I collected more resources and then made a fridge for the complex building, which we got powered up before making a grill to end of the day because I need to make bloody more meat. I'm running out of them, eating it too fast. I made more C4, bullets, tranks, darts, and arrows before I collected this long neck blueprint from this yellow drop. Then Echo detected AxeMan nearby headquarters and I went straight out on the hunt to see if I could spot him close by, but to my disappointment he was nowhere to be goddamn seen. So I went back to headquarters and made that long neck. And it was time to head out for a recon mission with I Spy, checking close by first just to double check if he was still around there, but he wasn't. But now it's time we can scan through the snow. But while scanning here there was no sign of him until I checked out the snow cave. We had left a campfire going with some meat in it. Still had some meat cooking, so it means he's been here. So I checked further into the cave, but there was no sign of building here and no sign of AxeMan. So there could be a chance he is hiding in the snow, and I will find him. So the recon mission continued into the next day. I was checking all over the snow. And I also did this oil harvesting pit stop before I collected some silica pearls as well, because I need them. Then I checked out the other ice cave, but he 100% wasn't in here, and to be honest this place scares the shit out of me, so I'm out of here. After checking all over the snow, there was no sign of AxeMan. It was time to head back to headquarters, where I made more gasoline and some cages to have on me, so I'm always ready to catch AxeMan alive. I also named one of my recent Sabers Pride, and made her the good saddle from this BP. And at the end of the day, we headed out for another recon mission with I Spy. I will find him. I will find him this time. And in the early hours of the next day, we reached our recon destination, being the Redwoods. And I was checking all over the Redwoods, man. No sign of him anywhere. I also even checked inside the swamp cave, but he wasn't in there. And to be honest, this is probably the worst place to hide in. Could also be the smartest place if you have like a gas mask and you can make it livable. After scanning the whole area, there was absolutely no sign of it. So I went to check out if there was any fishy business going on in that first cave I spotted his raptors in, but there was nothing here. Then I spotted his moss sharp daisy, and I really thought about shooting it in the head, but AxeMan has ditched this poor thing, and I kinda felt a bit sad for it. I felt sorry for it. We get a bit of a hashtag, AxeMan is a bad parent. I don't know why I'm saying that. I'm sorry, Axe, I love you. So, we continued on our recon mission over the South Zone. The recon mission was still going into the next day, but there was absolutely no sign of AxeMan anywhere, which had me thinking he had to be in a cave or he was consistently on the move, which both of those kinda sucks for me. So, it was time to head back to headquarters, but on our journey, I left I Spy up on this cliff rock thing, and hopefully it'll give AxeMan a good scare. Once I returned to headquarters, I found triplets, which is sick, and will come in handy. But it was time to take the Saber pack out and go hunting in the central cave once again. So on day 49, we were in the central cave, but tragedy had happened. We had lost both Ron and Hello AxeMan to the cave inhabitants, so we had to retreat out of it. And after retreating, I did even more work on the lab on Carno Island to collect this yellow drop before heading to Green late at night as I wanted to make some cryopods. We are halfway through our hunt and I just made it to Green, but I forgot the metal that I need to make cryopods with. So we have to head back to headquarters like a sad puppy. But luckily, when I was back at headquarters, a drop spawned inside of the hidden lake and I was able to make 6 cryopods, which will come in handy. Then I got more walls added to the lab and brought Funky across to be the alarm system of the lab. The next day was just a full-on resource day, as I needed to prepare for catching AxeMan. So, on the following day I settled up my new Sabers, which I called Slash and Bite. Then we headed out towards the first cave to fully raid it out. Once we made it into the cave, I headed in and dealt with the Megalania inside before noticing there was way too much danger in here, so there's no way AxeMan's down here. We definitely have to dip out of this hell. And then, when I got out, there was a bloody Alpha Raptor outside, and this is where we lost Pride, our Saber. But Chompstick managed to get the kill and got some sweet levels. And from the Alpha Raptor I got a Master Craft crossbow, which was a nice reward. And so we headed back to headquarters. We ended up making it back on the following day and started making some more bullets, and then went to check around the map to see if we could spot AxeMan at some hidden locations. And the first spot we checked out, there was no sign of AxeMan here, so then we scouted out the ice cave from outside at the end of the day just to make sure he wasn't sneaking around here anymore. Our spot checking continued into the next day with us finding no sign of AxeMan, so we went back to start work on the lab on Carno Island, and also I decided that Chompstick will be the defender of the lab and help protect Funky. Day 55 equals resource day. That's it. Now before that resource grinding yesterday, we were able to add some more to the Carno Island lab, and then we went on another patrol mission, but with Peekaboo this time. We first headed into the snow as I still had a feeling he was hiding out this way. I even checked out this hidden spot like near the iced out waterfall, but there was no sign here. So we kept on hunting around the snow into the night. So our patrol continued into day 57, where I figured out that this patrol was kinda useless, as my dumb head did not put Peekaboo on turret mode, which means the whole time I was hunting yesterday and into the early hours of this morning, I was not pinging anything, and so I could have gone straight over AxeMan's base if we know about it. Then, I Spy was killed by Bubbles AxeMan's Styler, which means this man's been in the redwoods, so I went straight to where I Spy was and looked around everywhere for this little shite, but he was nowhere to be found. So we headed back to working on the base. But then the stupidest thing I could have done happened. Yep, when changing my recording between days I clicked leave game and not return to game. And this means when I returned I was drowning, getting stung by jellyfish, and died. So this is the first time I died on this hunt. We also lost Fizzle in this accident, which kinda sucks, but now I won't be back until day 60. See you then. So we're now back and it's day 60 and we have nothing on me because all my stuff is in the bottom of the ocean and there's no way I'm getting that. So I clicked this purple drop before using Scout to get Flume back, who was hovering right above the ocean. And then I collected this yellow drop before building up my resources again. We kept on harvesting on to the next day. Then we collected a bunch of pellet from the Saber security unit. I've been doing a lot of killing around here. Then I made myself a new spyglass, also collected this purple drop. I had a shotgun, but not a pump shotgun like I had before the accident. Nice one, Veno, you dum-dum. I did even more harvesting on day 62. So on the next day I decided to head to the snow with Giarietta in the claws of Flume. in the goal to harvest a lot of organic polymer. But there was a snowstorm and it was freezing on top of this mountain. And you think this is gonna stop me from getting to the penguin heaven? Nope. So I ended up murking so many goddamn penguins when I got here, and also collecting a bit of oil before we started our journey back to headquarters. But we made a little pit stop to collect some silica pearls before my feet were gonna freeze off. And by the end of the day, we were on our way back to headquarters with all our goodies. And on the next day, we had to stop for some stam on this rock. The 2 moss chops that I had to tame because I could, and I called them Jerry and Jerry Jr. But I left them here, and we made our way back to headquarters, and I was able to make this pump shoddy blueprint, which will come in handy when dealing with AxeMan's tames, and protect myself from anything like a raptor or something. I also made myself a new ghillie mask and boots, and then made a new C4 remote and some C4 chargers, some shotgun bullets, a bookshelf for all my blueprints, and then we went to Carno Island to try and finish off the lab. But we were having some building issues, because I'm used to using S+, and we used no mods in this whole entire 100 days, so my brain was a little bit confuzzled and not used to non-modded buildings. So, with all that building trouble, I had to figure out a different way of building up the top part of the lab on the next day. But I didn't have enough resources to make the new parts, and therefore we went out and harvested all I needed on this day. So on day 66 the lab was finally finished, where I added a cage inside for a potential testing location. And then I made a bunch of blood syringes and put them in a storage box. And now it was time to make what will be the alarm network across the island, which will have like these little shacks that will house the parasols in turret mode. Then we headed out to the first spot, and luckily there was a parasol nearby, but then we got attacked by the shitty terror bird before we could tame the parasol and put it in the shack, which was a pain to close up. Like, I was having troubles with these snap points. But once it was all done, I pinned down on the map so I know if AxeMan attacked it, I know where he was. Then work on the second spot of the alarm network started on the next day with its level 18 parasol that I knocked out before I got this Carno setter from this yellow drop, which is going to be going on Chopstick the next time I see him. Once the parasol was tamed, it was put in the shack and was all ready to go. And then we went to the third spot, close to the volcano, like in this little foresty area, where we had the parasol found juice set up and ready to go. Then we got to the fourth spot, close to the river, near the redwoods, on the other side of the volcano, where I knocked out this parasol and waited for it to be tamed. Then, on day 68, we had the fourth location of the alarm network set up, and while we were flying away from the fourth location, I noticed something. A giga. A tamed giga. We found AxeMan's base location, and this madman tamed a bloody giga. Like, what? He's supposed to be hiding and he's got the biggest tame in the freaking game, basically. That's gonna make it very hard to get him. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to make it go rage mode and kill all those other tames maybe. But after we pinned down that location on the map, we headed back to headquarters, where I spotted a level 38 PT and I had to knock it out quickly. We have no time for silly business on day 69 as I hunt for prime meat to give to our PT that we had tamed. Then I spotted a Titanosaur and thought maybe I could kite this all the way to kill his Giga. But that's just gonna be a waste of time. So trying to get prime meat, we were killing some hyenodons, as this was probably gonna be the best way of me getting some. Then one of my alarm network was attacked and killed by accident, and we had to quickly go check around the area, where there was no sign of him, and then we headed back to headquarters and waited for this PT to tame. Then he killed Jerry and Jerry Jr., the friggin' toad, but at the end of the day, our new PT Arrow was tamed. So now we have 30 days left to capture AxeMan, and I'm making a saddle for Arrow before I get it mating with Scout, as I think having imprinted PTs are going to come in handy when completing my mission. Then, I also finally made some new chiropods after losing all mine in the accident on day 58 to the ocean. Woo! Then, on the next day, we got our first PT egg incubating in the complex building, made more gunpowder, and then we got our first baby PT, but it didn't get Arrow's good stam, but it was a start at the Sky Atack Unit, and I made more C4 bullets and bear traps, which I have a plan for. Then, I got a full imprint on our new PT. As in typical Veno fashion, I did not record day 72, where we did have this little battle with AxeMan on Carno Island where I was trying to drown his Giga, but oh well, on to the next day. And so on that next day, I made a bunch of flat gear stuff for a volcano outpost where I feel I will catch AxeMan and trap him in. Then I took the Saddle of Error and put it on Switchblade, our new PT, before collecting an Explorer Note with it. And this is when we headed to the volcano with Flume holding Peekaboo, our Parasol, and Switchblade on follow. And once we reached it, I noticed the spot I wanted to build, I couldn't, which had me a bit confused, but then I realized it's on a server, so there's certain places you can't build, so guess we're gonna have to find a new one. Whoop, whoop. So on the next day, we looked around the volcano for a new spot, which we did find one. And I set up the outpost, and then we snuck down to where his pipes led to and started placing all my bear traps and large bear traps all over the land. And then I did something stupid. So stupid. I walked straight into my own bear trap, and I was trapped. This is gonna take me a while. And we had to wait. And wait. And then this Rex decided to rock on up, and luckily I had my shotgun because I blew its face to oblivion before he could get a munch on me. And by nighttime I was still waiting in this trap, and I still don't know how AxeMan didn't spot me while I was here. So I was still stuck in the trap on the following day, and then it finally let me out and we flew right back to the volcano outpost, checking out some of my Sabers, but one of them got cryo sickness because I was impatient. And then we launched the first stage of our attack using Peekaboo to spot out all his tames and blowing up his pipe system with some C4 to stop water going to his plant species X. Then, I shot at his tames, dragging them towards the river, hoping to get them inside some traps, and there was a wild Rex, so he could munch on them and hopefully get a kill, but they killed it. But I guess it helped getting damage on them. We continued kiting his tames on the following day, and then I went out and got Switchblade out, back at the outpost, before heading back to do more damage and lure AxeMan out. And then after getting all his Thylers kited away from his base, AxeMan showed up. I was trying my best to lure him into my bear traps, but had no luck. Then he got the jump on me, and I was at a near-death experience like, holy sheesh, my health was so low. I just flew around, trying to dodge and weave everything that he was shooting at me before retreating back to the outpost without him seeing me to heal up. Then on the early hours of day 77, we launched our nighttime attack, and I spotted him running off, and then we shot at his tames a few times. He returned back, and I was playing dodge and weave as he shot at me again. So I went back and got Flume instead, and then I could see that his plant species X was still working after testing it with our Parasol. So after the attack, we returned back to headquarters to come up with another plan to capture him and take his place, which there was a second PT egg for me, so I'll hash that later to build up our air attack unit. The next day was a resource day for the ages, so with all them resources I was able to make 2 turrets that I'll use for a fob to attack AxeMan's base with. Then made some bullets for them, more narcotics and bear traps, and then I went hunting for my own Thyler so I could counter his one. But after shit level after shit level after shit level, I did end up spawning this level 102, which could be a maybe, but probably won't compete with AxeMan's bubbles, so I didn't bother with this. And the Thyler hunt continued into day 80, but there was just nothing better. So I decided to kill this level 24 one just to take my frustration out on. Like, I was just pissed off. Then Bells was killed, which means AxeMan is attacking headquarters. So we headed back swiftly, and I decided instead of flying straight in, I went through the bushes, and then ended up being right behind him. And I went for the pick. Nope. It somehow didn't pick him up, but I know I scared the daylights out of him though, as he dipped away into the forest.
I scared you.
Part of me does wish that I actually picked up a Styler instead and got it killed by my turrets on top of the complex building, which I added on day 72. Then he killed Alert on the alarm network, and due to the way he came from, I decided to make some bear traps to lay along that cliff. So if he comes back that way, he will get stuck, and I'll be able to capture him so easily. And on the next day, we got every trap laid down, and I didn't step in one this time. Tamed myself a new parasol called Try Me and put it up on the cliff to fill in the hole in my security net. Then collected this drop before making even more bullets. So on day 82, we loaded up everything we needed for the fob and flume, and repaired my ghillie armor, and made another long neck and a bunch of boulders, and then we headed out towards the volcano outpost with Switchblade on follow as always. And when we made it there, I went out for a scout around his base with Switchblade, where he was waiting for me and tried to attack me and chase me, but I lost him so he wouldn't find the outpost. So on the next day, it was time for mission set up the fob. We flew down on Flume and hid her behind this rock, but she was attacked by Carno, which we blew his brains out with my shotgun before sneaking down to the river just shy of his base. And we successfully set up the fob without being spotted, and then ran back to Flume. It was time to start dragging his remaining teams to their death. And then we waited to see if he would come back. And so we waited for him into the next day, but he did not show his face. So I guess he wasn't coming back. So we decided to pick up the fob, and after all the damage, we just headed back to headquarters at the end of the day, because I gotta think of a new plan to capture this man. He's getting away from me. And on our next day, I fully incubated our other PT egg, as the Arrow and Scout have gone missing from the last attack from AxeMan. And I got triplets, but they're all females, which means I can't breed more. Luckily, they do have the best weight and stam that I wanted, so that is great. And I managed to get a full imprint on all 3 of them by the end of the day. The following day started with some resources before naming my new PTs, the Sniper Squad. And then we headed out towards the snow at the end of the day to get some organic polymer. And on the following day, after we've collected all the polymer I needed, I headed back to headquarters where I made this compound bow from this blueprint. And then we went on a massive note run with Sniper. And our note run continued into the next day with so many notes. And then I also noticed that he blew up the cave I blocked off, which means he's been in here. And then I found Arrow and Scout out in the bushes not that far from headquarters, so I brought them back to base to end off my day. I moved one of my turrets on the following day to get better courage if AxeMan decides to attack the base again. Then it was time to go out on a patrol mission to find out where he's moved to, because he's definitely moved from the old base, since there was no action there. So with Try Me and my claws, we flew around and found him not too far from headquarters, and that led to a full-on attack on his base, where I was purposely swooping in with Sniper and hitting his Giga multiple times, while all he could do was try and snipe me. But that wasn't going to deter me, sir.
AxeMan! I'm having too much fun there, just being a...
Our attacks continued into the next day, as we only have 10 days left to capture him now. But it was time to pick up his Parasaur and send it to the Shadow Realm, so he could not spot me when I was coming in. Then I noticed the boat base was nearby, and that was perfect, as I would be able to capture him on this, and that was now my goal. Seems a bit full circle. Then I went back and picked up one of his spare Thylers and sent it to the ocean before I managed to pick him off his Thyler with Sniper, and she was tanking his shots.
I got you, motherfucker. Keep going, bro, keep going.
But then I forgot one thing. He has a bloody Dimorphodon, which killed me.
Oh, the Dimorphodon got me. No!
And Sniper died as well, and that means he gets 2 free days before the final battles. I was lucky enough that I could actually still get my stuff back on day 93, and then went back to headquarters to make myself a harpoon gun and net projectiles. And then we went back to see if AxeMan was still at his base by the beach, which he was. It was a bit more built up now. So we will launch our final assault to capture him tomorrow. And I'm not giving up until he is on my boat and I have a vial of his blood. I thought about dragging this wild Giga that was on the mountain near his base down as part of the attack. It could be a good project or could backfire badly. So our final attack commenced at the start of day 94, with us trying to kite this Giga towards his base, which gets a bit dicey when it lands a solid bite on my booty cheeks. And then it got stuck on having Scorpion for breakfast instead of my butt, so I guess it's time to leave it be. And then I moved the boat closer to his base and was going to set up a fob to protect it, but I forgot the gasoline to get the stuff running, so I had to fly back to headquarters at the end of the day. Now after getting that gasoline back at base, we could finally get the fob set up on this day, which means it's full on attack time, with me swooping in and out, attacking his tame, starting with his Parasaur so he couldn't detect me coming in. And then I went from every angle I could, swooping in and out, hitting his tames, hoping they would follow me, but they were all on passive, so any chip damage would do. Then this Alpha Raptor was getting a bit close to the battlefield, which might become a problem, but also could help me out. Then in the late evening I decided it was time to sneak in from behind and onto his land. Using the cover of every bush I slowly got closer and closer to his hut. And then I beelined at his hut, laying a bunch of C4 on it, and he spotted me. But I netted his Thyler as quickly as I could and dipped away before I hit that receiver to send his shack to smithereens. Yeah, and then I quickly dipped back to my PT and flew back to the boat base. The end of the day. Our fierce battle to capture AxeMan continued on to the next hour with even more swooping in and out, but then he managed to get me with some clean headshot as I was hiding from the raptor and I died. Luckily I have a spare PT in the boat base and was able to get my weapons back straight away. Then I found the spot where I could continuously snipe at his tames, and he had no clue. I got so many shots from here. Like, it was the perfect angle to hold, and I wish I could trank him from here, but it's just a tad too far, but any damage on his tames would do. And then I decided I could set a trap with the spot. So I shot at his Thyler, and he was able to see which direction I shot him from, and he beelined in my direction. but I was prepared with my net gun and I netted his thyla before hopping on my PT to scare him away as he jumped away. So, with him gone, I blasted his goddamn thyla called Bubbles into the shallow grave that it belongs in.
Bubbles is down. Bubbles is down.
And I also stole its saddle, so he couldn't saddle up his spare thyla. And also thanks to me blowing up his base, he had no way of building anything like a thyla saddle or anything, because I'm continuously attacking him and he has no time for a new smithy. Sucker. We continued our attack, but this wild giga is now walked down to the beach by my raft. This has me on edge. But that didn't stop me from picking up his dodo, which was hiding in the shack, and he was screaming at me not to get it killed. But this caused me to run out of stam, and this Carno was head on my booty cheeks, and so was Axe. But I managed to net the Carno and AxeMan's raptor, but then he threw out his giga, and I panicked and bowled my PT, which was death for it, as I ran off to the boat base to be safe. So now I was only on foot, and I had to play the stealth game, taking little shots at his tames while hiding in the bushes where he could not see me at all. Then, when I got really close and I waited for him to be as close as possible without him seeing me, I launched an attack where I managed to net him off the top of his raptor, and I could have easily knocked him out here, but I panicked as I couldn't tell what I did. And as he whistled his raptor on me and dropped out his gig again, I parachuted my way back towards my raft and then launched another attack, but this time I went in quickly and unseen as I could and shot away at him with my weapons before his tames chased me, and I tried to lead them to the fob, but they didn't work as he's whistling too much. And now the wild giga is right in the middle of the battlefield, so this is trouble. So I put everything in my storage box in the raft base and fast traveled to headquarters to get my Saber pack ready for an assault from the rear end of the base. So I headed out with the Saber pack at night, and this really hit my brain because these guys were just being a pain in the rear end to get towards his base. Like, to the fact that I actually didn't make it to his base until day 98, which means I have 2 days now to capture this fool, which is stressful. And in the early hours of the morning, we attacked him, catch him off guard, but his tames were stronger than the pack. And also, I lost half of it on the journey here, so that sucked as well. So maybe if the whole pack was hit, I might have won this battle, but while he was distracted by the sabers, I beelined it back to the boat base and got my weapons and my other gear back. And then with my weapons, I launched a little sneak attack, where I got all his teams chasing me. And I dipped back down with my parachute, which worked really well as one of the raptors actually hit me, which sent me flying and launched me so far back that they couldn't get to me. This is when I decided to move the fob even closer to his base, adding a new safety area for me to start my attacks from. And moving this fob was so stressful, but I got it done. Then I laid down close to the fob where I could just see over the sandbank and see what he was up to. Taking little peep shots, peepee pokes, and all that kind of stuff to lure his tames to me, but that didn't work. But as I headed up, he managed to land a shot as I was throwing this grenade, which took down my armor. So we dodged our way back to the bank and tried to scout out where he shot me from. I couldn't see him. So then I sneaked up close, landing a nice shot on his raptor before getting even closer or shooting him with my bow before we played Ring Around the Land, or Ring Around the Rosie, but he managed to land another good shot on me, which got my health very low. So I had to retreat back to safety, which had me stuck behind this rock. Then on the early hours of day 99, we had our first server crash. Yep, 99 days and only one crash is not bad. So after the server restarted, I headed straight out to get as close to his base to see if I could spot him out, but I couldn't. So I went back to my raft to see what gear I had, and I was able to repair my flak armor, which will help with the attack. Made some more bullets as well, but while heading back up, I was attacked by some raptors where I managed to knock out one and killed the other, which I used the meat from to get the other one to tame. But sadly, Axe shot and killed this poor raptor. Then, this felt like my final chance to get him was here. He had me pinned down behind this rock, we were trading shots back and forth, but I was missing my bow shots. And then I decided to take a few shots at him with my shotgun to scare him before I did the unthinkable. With a nice timed little jump shot, I hit him with a trank dart, and he was out cold. He dropped off that raptor. So I ran straight up to him, made sure to drop all his stuff, put his narcotics on him, while his raptor had his time off and ran towards my fob and got deleted. And then I dragged him down the beach.
Coming with me, boy! No, because the turrets are a team only.
Took a vial of his blood before getting close to the raft, where Raptor was a bit too close for comfort, so I knocked that thing out before getting Axe on the raft and in the cage. Now I did want to drag him to headquarters, but the cage mechanic and all that kind of stuff on top of the raft doesn't work. As you can see, he just kind of floats off as I move the raft. So I have one, so I've caught him, I got everything I needed, I've taken the dub.
Good game, kind sir, good game.
And then I decided to do the unthinkable. Since now that I have his Giga thanks to his Pyropod, I threw out his Giga. He said take care of it. Of course I'm gonna take care of it, buddy. Then I dragged him out and he knew what was happening.
Please don't do it.
I'm doing it, sir. I'm doing it. The Giga is eating you, boy.
Anything but this. Little P, don't listen to him. Please don't eat me.
Huh? But the whistle wasn't working. It wasn't letting me to whistle a target on him, so I pulled out my pickaxe, hit him once, and then his Giga little P ate him straight up. Had that nice munch.
Let's go, GG. I win.
Had to end it off using his own tame to kill him. So I hope you guys enjoyed that hunting of AxeMan, and I'm so glad we got the dub, but man, that was tough. So remember to go check out AxeMan's video and see what he got up to and to see from the hunted POV. And also break them 3k likes and you'll see us run it back with AxeMan being the hunter and me being hunted. Oh, and if you get to this part of the video, comment down below little P belongs to Veno now. And peace out, you legends. 20k here we come.